attract them year-round, but also reward the ones that make it and clear the bay. So, in that table here is really telling to me of how many monarchs congregate using the coast. Well, that's why they get the numbers they do. And lots of goldenrod. If you've ever taken the ferry over there, I think next week or the week after is the Monarch Festival over in Cape May. Every year I take the ferry over and just visit them. And told them last year, we have a commitment this year to do a better job of receiving their monarchs. Receiving meaning just not, hey, there goes one, but giving them a meal, giving them a high-value nectar meal. And that's in the form of seaside goldenrod and many other plants. But I mentioned goldenrod because there's some unique properties of goldenrod nectar that isn't true of other pollinating plants. And there's a study out of University of Penn State that looks at nectar components of different plants. And it showed that goldenrod is really the preferred plant because of the minerals, micronutrients, and products that help the immune system, probiotics within the gut system of the monarchs to keep them strong. Well, what more important early on between here and Mexico, you want to build strong immune systems because they're going to have a lot of challenges. So that being said, we're here today to count the monarchs coming from where they are and where they're heading. So we're in a strategic spot today, and as long as we know which way to put our back to it, we'll know every monarch when we face the correct direction. They're coming this way, those that are heading toward Mexico. And if we can get a ballpark figure, and this is not an exact science by any stretch, because there are going to be monarchs that are going to circle around, and did I count that one? It's going to be tough, but if we have some general rules, because there's some even in the parking lot, so they're going to vary around. They're like kids. You don't always go where you want them to. You know where you want them to go, but they don't stay there. But if we have some rough rules of what the observation positions will be, the timing, standardize this as much as we can. It has a potential to being a great database, if not a publishable database. And working with the Audubon Society of Cape May and the Nature Center of Cape May, I'll be working in collaboration with them to share some of this data with them because they've committed. They're the longest running monarch observation and tagging facility in the entire United States. And we being downstream of them, we can do great things. We can complement their efforts. And I think today is a great example of how that's going to happen. So that being said, sheet number one, it's kind of the training guide, if you will. Just the top line, what is an observation day? It merely means it is a day where one or two people, depending on the expected flow of monarchs for that particular day, and we'll get into that, of 1 hour, 2 hour observation window and keeping track of how many monarchs were observed during that observation period. A couple times you don't want to come. Yesterday, I guess if you were around yesterday, you call it in and say, no, I'm not sure. Well, it's going to be nothing. We want to make sure when you do spend the time and your volunteer hours are here, there's something, it's a productive time. And we're not facing a tremendous headwind where they're not flying, and it's not raining, it's not cold. They're, at 55 degrees or below, or it's close to that, they won't fly anyway. They can't fly because they're all thermal-regulated by the sun. So there's certain conditions where we want to make sure that if you do commit to the form, and the form will be something that'll be a Google sign-up form, and Julie will get into that. So we make sure we have good coverage, but not like 6 people on one hall picture right here. So we need to organize when and if you can make it, that it's not redundant to what you get. Okay, so good weather day, I think 65 and above. Below that, you're going to get some monarchs, but they really haven't warmed up enough yet to actually take flight and to begin to nectar. So that's kind of a, if it was 8 o'clock in the morning, it was in the 58, I wouldn't go. I'd just be like, they're still hunkering down, they're still getting warmed up by the sun. So a ballpark figure around 65 and above, you'll see monarchs for sure. Winds less than 50 miles per hour. Now, monarchs are one of the largest butterflies in North America, so they're able to navigate some pretty good winds. But if it's a headwind, they won't fly. Okay, so you need to know what a headwind is. Well, a headwind is when they're flying from, northwest to southeast. Northeast to southwest. There you go. That's their migratory path. So if you have a headwind coming at them, they will not fly. They'll sit down, they'll hunker down, they'll nectar, but they won't migrate that day. They use tailwinds like today. A northwest wind, perfect. That's a great day to observe. It's warm, we have northwest winds. We'll use thermals to conserve energy to keep going south and west. So they love a northwest wind to continue to pass that way. So anything that looks like a headwind, and it's cool or it's cloudy, you probably wouldn't get a good count anyway. So not to discourage it, but I want to make sure that if you do come out and spend volunteer hours, it's productive. You're able to see, not 1 or 2, but 12. Yeah. Go.
Do you want me to wait for questions till later, or can I?
Well, they may be answered through the courts.
Okay.
So if you can remember the question, jot it down.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's like, oh, okay, yeah, or I'm going to cover that later. So
Okay.
all about. So yeah, headwind, not a great thing because they will not go into a headwind. They'll conserve energy. They'll stay close to the ground, but they really won't cover large distances. But they will use thermals and favorable winds. If there's no monarchs within 30 minutes of your getting here and sitting here, facing the right direction, you'd be like, okay, it's not happening today. So you just write on your form, just take credit for your being here, but just say wind conditions weren't supportive, didn't see any monarchs in 30 minutes. I will point to your attention the field observation form. I think what is important from a data standpoint is potential publishing form. This one has the date, the time, the weather. I think that as best you can estimate what you think the temperature is. Your phone sometimes will do it, there's a website for it. You can do that in the wind direction. Would also be good because we'll be correlating numbers of counts based on temperature and wind direction. So I'll be looking for relationships there as to what was our most productive day. Was it the northwest wind pushing them? And so the best we can do about the wind direction. So everybody's phone probably has a compass on it. So what I normally do is I just click the compass and find out which way the wind's coming from. Right now it's coming kind of this way. So it's good to just kind of get a general read. So the weather means it could be sun, that's fine, but temperature and wind direction and speed would be an estimate. Again, this is not absolute, right? We do the best we can for this. Would be really good for the weather section. And the form is listed here. Tally, when you see one, you say, okay, there was one coming from the pine trees. Rather than counting your trucks, just tally. Just do tallies. It's the easiest, quickest thing, and you can add them up really easily and summarize them up there. So other than that, everything else I think is pretty self-explanatory. What time did you get here? What time did you leave? So what's an hour observation? Because I'll be looking at observation time versus total monarchs observed. Looking at that relationship and that ratio. Was 2 hours the right amount of time given the weather? So there'll be a lot of different ways to chop the data and look at it to see what was the most effective. And to learn about the monarchs. When did they find the best times to come? We think we know, but it also helps to validate that, yes, northwest winds on warm, sunny days with a 15-mile-an-hour breeze seem to be a lot of monarchs coming. So Cape May, while it's far away, it's not too far where we won't get them on the same day. Because if you get a good tailwind, we'll be here. And we're one of the first land masses they're going to meet when they finally clear the day. And the text is just my phone number, so when you're all done, either individually or in pairs, if you're doing it in pairs and spreading out, would be just to collaborate and get on maybe one data form if you could, or if it's two, just let me very clear this is two forms on the same day. I won't double count them. And this text to myself, and Julie and I will both get the things here. So, while we talked about tagging. If anybody ever tagged a monarch, have you guys ever experienced tags? Okay. we know that Cape May in all of New England tags in the realm of tens of thousands of monarchs are tagged each year. They're done for research. And I used to think, and Julie said I tag a lot, I'm considering not tagging anymore because we know where they go. Originally, 1974, 73, we didn't know where monarchs went. So we thought we went to Florida, Louisiana, and that was it. We never knew they went down through Texas into these now sanctuaries in the mountains of Mexico. But now that we know that, I step back, I'm like, do we really need to tag? Because anything that's on a wing can't be good, right? So even though they're very light and it doesn't look like any equilibrium problem, you got to think that nothing is better than something on a wing that you have to go 2,000 miles to where you're going. That being said, but with climate change, the latest studies that's right now happening, they're now moving some of the evergreen trees, oyamel trees that are the preferred conifer in the sanctuaries in Mexico. They're now moving up about 1,000 feet in elevation because of climate change. Keep in mind, monarchs need 34 degrees to 59. It's a narrow band to overwinter. They kind of go through this diapause, half sleep, half awake, get a drink, go back to sleep. That 34 to 59 is a narrow band to be consistently there. Below that, you're going to freeze them, and then you're going to lose up to millions in some cases. Above that, they use too much energy through their metabolism. They use up energy that they can't regain because there's not a lot of pollinating plants in the 5 miles up in the elevation. So what they have lipid-wise in their abdomen, they got to keep that through the course of winter. So anything that raises the temperature is going to burn through that. That being said, they're now moving the elevation. The monarchs are now going higher into new mountains, volcanic mountains, to reach that Goldilocks zone, which is really cool. So as a potential tagger. I'm like, well, maybe it's now new science to find out, are these monarchs adjusting climatologically and evolutionary-wise a little bit, going to higher elevations to know where they need to be to conserve energy. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll tag another year. Talk me out of it next year, though. It's a lot of work. So, okay, we don't expect you to tag. Tagging is but we do hope that you embrace observing and keeping close tallies of the time that you're here and keep good notes and good records of when you are here. Because what we'll do is we'll aggregate this, we'll get you the final report, which we'll put together and get it to all of you. So you'll see what the results of your efforts. Your data will be in this chart and the synopsis being shared with Kate May as well. So that being said, back to our training form. We know that they fly from New England they're flying southwest. So what we need to do is choose a location where we don't get in the middle of a garden and it's like, well, there's two, so count those two. And then we look over here and there's two more. Well, those are the same two we just had. So what we need to do is separate ourselves from where they're going and nectaring. And that means facing 180 degrees behind you. That's where they're going to be coming from. Okay, so that's the direction of which New England is behind you. So when one or both of you set up your shop of like with your coffee, with your lattes, in the shade, turn your chairs around at the time. I'll say, okay, starting now it's 10:55, and I'm just going to sit here and look from 180 degrees. So if I'm my hand this way and this way, and I'm facing 60 degrees, that's right exactly where, right at the point of that parking lot is where you'll want, that's perfect where they should be coming from. Anything from 180 degrees from this, and I put my back to the garden and I move out with it, I won't be counting them again because they won't fly backwards. You know, if they're true migratory monarchs, they're not going to waste energy going through a parking lot or evergreens. There's nothing there for them. They're going to come here, they'll stay here, and then they'll keep pushing out this way. But I think the best return on our investment and for your counts would be to, without getting in the parking lot, stay in shade, but face that way from let's say from the sign to that evergreen stand. That's your viewing stand. Okay, so if you do it in singles or in pairs, that would be the opportunity of which to get monarchs. Count them once. Count them once, tally them down, and don't look back because they won't go back. They're only going to, for the most part, I'd say 90% of them never circle back and think they forgot. I got my glasses. Gotta go back. So that's kind of good for us in the stability and reliability of the data. So a single observer, if you're here on a single day, because the sign-up sheet said, yep, I'm the only one here, it could be any time. Really, there's no right or wrong time. They're going to be migrating all the time. The more data we have, obviously, the better. The better it's done reliability-wise, the stronger the p-values, the strength of the data will be. So yes, it's a volunteer program. We do the best. It's not perfect. These things fly all around. But I've not seen one go back since we've been here. So it's kind of a good proof of concept that when they get here, they're going to be here, and there are only going to be more coming. So that being said, if you're a single observer, you maybe stand in the middle or sit in the middle, and just kind of scan, keep your head on the swivel, and see how many there are. And once they go by you, and that's the tally. Then just forget that one. Wait for the next one. And just keep doing that until your session is over. And whatever you can do, time-wise. Obviously, it's a volunteer program, so we'll take what we can get. Ideally, it'd be a 60-minute, 2-hour window, but that's a lot of time. Maybe a book, a drink, or something. But whatever you can do for us, it's all good. And we'll keep track of the amount of time versus the number of monarchs and have a ratio of viewing minutes versus monarch views. There are two observers. If we have two, we know from Kate May's standpoint, and I'm in contact with them fairly often, when a lot of them are leaving there. That would be a good time for us to have good staff. Good staff may be one or maybe two people, because if there's enough there, if you're one person, there's one there, well, someone snuck by here. If there were two, for some odd reason, there's a window of a week where it's peak. The peak window of when at least Kate May gets them, we can expect that same peak here. Maybe two observers that day would be great. Maybe one sits over there, one sits over there, and they communicate, got this one, got that one, maybe a verbal command, so you don't say, I got that one, well, that person got the same one, so we double counted. So again, not a perfect science, but we hope extreme cases where there's lots coming over, then we would have maybe two people that day, because it's a good weather day, it's peak season of when we expect them to come through, and if we had one over here, we wouldn't double count them. Yeah, pretty much the tallies. When the sessions are done, you just take a picture of that completed form and text it to my phone, and I'll keep these things aggregated, and I'll build a database as it comes in on a daily basis. But I think, did we miss anything?
Shall I talk about a little bit about scheduling and the forms and?
Okay.